It looks like the legendary Brendan Fraser is back on the radar with his latest movie, The Whale, but where was he all these years? Well, the truth might cause you to break a tear or more, as Brendan's life has been one filled with hardships. Here, we're going to take a look at the tragic life of Brendan Fraser. Number 5. Being heavily objectified. I think we're all aware that the film industry is plagued with stars being objectified. Most of us might have been under the impression that it's only actresses who go through that, but the truth is, there are men in the industry who've had to battle objectification just as much as women. One such actor who was objectified to the point of making news was Brendan Fraser. If you've been a fan of him since his early days, then you probably remember all those scenes of him going shirtless and sometimes being almost naked in a number of his movies. When asked how he felt about it, Brendan replied that looking back at all of it made him feel less like a human and more like a walking steak. Even though Brendan agrees that all of those roles were what made his career, it was still exhausting for him, and that's why he even turned down starring in the sequel of George of the Jungle. Yes guys, the same movie in which he wore nothing but a loincloth for like its entire duration. Number 4. Going through sexual assault. Back in 2003, which was a while before Brendan publicly spoke about it, Brendan was sexually assaulted by a former president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, Philip Berg. The actor talked about how the prominent figure in the industry groped him at the HFPA luncheon right in the middle of a crowd in the Beverly Hills Hotel. As you would think, Brendan froze because he couldn't understand what was happening to him at the time. What followed was Brendan being given an inadequate apology from Berg as well as the HFPA, and Brendan going into depression and becoming antisocial. This specific incident should make people realize that sexual assault is more rampant than people might think in Hollywood, with almost half the actors reporting to have gone through it at some point. Shockingly, Brendan's career took a nosedive after a story came out, and according to him, his work withered on the vine. Believe it or not, it would be safe to assume that Brendan was blacklisted by HFPA. Number 3. Being body shamed. Brendan's body has always been a subject of destructive criticism ever since he first became a part of Hollywood. A few years back, the Daily Mail, which is known for being rather harsh towards celebrities, would post candid photos of Brendan with mean comments about how he looked and just how much weight he had gained. Those photos would include moments in which Brendan would be spending time with his kids on the beach and such. In Brendan's own words, the reason he had become somewhat obese and couldn't maintain the six-pack he once had was because he was going through numerous health issues. Fortunately, body shaming has become a no-no by the majority of people who now view it as a form of bullying, and rightly so. Tabloids which have attempted to tear down Brendan because of his weight gain are now met with nothing but hate for themselves and support for Brendan from people worldwide. Number 2. Having a messy divorce while suffering from health problems. Brendan was known to be one of Hollywood's biggest action heroes, but those roles took a toll on his physical health. During the filming of The Mummy 3, Brendan had to cover himself with ice packs and hold them together with tape daily. Before that, he cracked several ribs while filming Dogfight in 1991. However, instead of taking a break, Brendan tried to brush the injury off and continued as if nothing happened. Over the years, Brendan's body went through so much that at one point, he spent 7 years of his life going in and out of hospitals and getting quite a lot of major surgeries to repair his spine and knees, which then also required physical therapy. Not just that, the actor also had to have his vocal cords reconstructed, which made a huge dent on his bank account. Mind you, at the time, Brendan was also going through a messy divorce, after which he was ordered to pay over $900,000 a year in child support to his ex-wife. That's right, $900,000. Number 1. A failed comeback attempt. In the 90s and early 2000s, Brendan was known as the guy who was like in every single action movie. The actor attempted to make a return in movies with DC's Batgirl, in which he was cast as the iconic Firefly. Sadly, Batgirl was scrapped by DC because of some tax problems that the studio was having. This was, of course, a bummer for everyone who was waiting for Batgirl to come out, but the person that it affected the most was Brendan, who had a shot at making a comeback taken away from him. Despite that, Brendan kept a smile on his face and had nothing but positive things to say about the people who he worked with. This goes on to show how big of a heart the actor has and how he didn't let the tragic circumstances he was under change the kind of human that he is. After going through more than what most people can handle, it looks like Brendan's life is coming back on track with all the recent projects he's been working on, and let us tell you, he deserves every bit of fortune coming his way.